Right, what was I talking about? Oh, I was bitching. I was being cynical and bitching. I don't think that Donald Trump is a populist because I don't think he's sincere. And I think populist implies sincerity. Like that he's like actually thinks that he's, a man of the people, as it were. But I don't think he like goes and says, "Oh, I'm going to help these people because they're downtrodden or the system doesn't support them." I don't think he thinks that. I think he says the most benefit I can get is people liking me, and people will like me more if I do X. But I mean, I don't know if that's true. The guy strikes me as not particularly self-aware, and always has since I was a kid. The thing about what I find particularly revealing about Trump is that the dude's run for president several times, and he's been in and around politics because he has money or had money for much of my adult life, but he bills himself as an outsider. So I mean, obviously that's not true, right? So I mean, so that is what it is. How can you be an outsider when you've been attending major political, social, cultural events and you've been soliciting donations and taking money and putting it in and etc. for years? You're not an outsider in that scenario. So I don't know, because I consider that insincere too, because I think that there is oh well, he's for the little guy. It's like, well, but but is he? Yeah, I don't think he is. I don't think he's not just genuinely not there, but I also think that oh man, our crops were low this year, and we got max farm. Let's up the farmers in our existing farming infrastructure. I think there has to be a genuineness to people who are correctly labeled populists, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's just the wrong definition. I don't know. I do know that I consider myself left of the mainstream Democratic Party, and I back in the primaries I thought, fuck, please don't be Joe Biden, because holy shit, this guy is, he's an establishment politician. He's been in Washington for 30 or 40 years, and his record is out there, and I don't trust him, and I don't believe he's an appropriate person. But then on the other side, and this is hilarious because the dude's a doofus, right? Like during the Obama administration, everybody made jokes about how much of a doofus Joe Biden is. But to contrast him, Donald Trump's a fucking blowhard. Like, if you went to a bar and Donald Trump and Joe Biden were there, and in their archetypical form, Donald Trump would be shouting about how great his sports team is, and he'd be like gambling. And Joe Biden would accidentally light himself on fire in the bathroom. It's just like, you wouldn't want to spend time with either of them, and you couldn't trust either of them. And they would both, you would think you were better than both of them. And you'd probably be right. Because, one's a doofus and the other's a blowhard. But given the choice between a doofus and a blowhard, I think, I'd choose doofus generally, because at least there's less of a sinister aspect to it, but I don't. It's not like I think he's well-meaning or anything. I don't think we agree about basically anything. I don't understand. Like, all right, like we're, you know, the science says we're approaching like a serious environmental catastrophe. If not, we've already passed it. Like, people are somehow deeply offended when someone says we got to get off oil. But that's the reality of the situation. We really need to get off oil and coal and natural gas. We really need to get off of it. But I don't think either one of them have any interest in doing so. The shit Donald Trump says about alternative energy is just like, But I don't think Joe Biden's any better. I think Joe Biden's, deeply connected with existing industrial concerns, and that his policy will be whatever they tell him it should be. I don't want to both sides it either, because I do think there's a difference between like politics as usual and the politics of personal corruption. I do think there is a difference, but I don't think that I don't think the end result's particularly different, but the intention is. It looked to me like there's flax here growing. This is like the private crop area. And it looks to me like this is two different crops. Barley and flax. Because it was blue. But no, it's not. So maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I wonder, what exactly do I need flax for? Just dyeing or for cloth? I don't have any. How are we doing on jobs? We got a bunch of available jobs. How are we doing on housing? Do we have some spots open? There's a spot, there's a spot, there's a spot. Yeah. Water access is still high here. There's no building to click on there. So it's not like we need another well or anything. I wonder if we should build some flax fields, though. Let's do it. It's the radical, but if we do it down here, we have to build a new farming building. So let's do it here. Oh? Alright. Flex. Flex. Flex to flex. Alright. And there's what? There's fabric dyeing. Produces fabrics. Needs linen. Okay. Linen. No, this is a fabrics workshop. Produces linen. Needs flax. So it's pretty big. It's pretty big. I guess we'll put it back here. That might get built someday. I mean, our brick deficit is pretty big. We've built a wall. Okay, yeah, see, it's like some of it's blue, and I think that's flax, isn't it? It doesn't say. This is a private field. The private workers are controlling the flax industry. How do we get more immigrants here? No more immigrants. Is it because things aren't great? I mean, things are okay though. There's no trade, but the quality of life is okay. Jobs is okay. It just says no more immigrants. Why though? We stole all their babies and threw them down the well. Threw them down the well. Oh, I'm getting like more stuffed up the longer the day goes on. It is getting colder in here too, because I opened the window. Maybe that's it. I figure maybe I put a temple in this area, but I'm still waiting on so much of the wall to be built. A bunch has, to be fair. We got this section and that section and that little bit there. Maybe someday we'll have a wall. So I think we should probably watch the food pretty closely this year, because we have given them new work to do. It just says no more immigrants, though, and I'm wondering if that's like, that's just it. I have to grow internally from now. If that's the case, it's gonna take forever, right? Like, or if I've failed at some level of or maybe just there are just not unlimited immigrants in the game. Let's add more warehouse workers. It seems like job demand should bring in more immigrants, right? This is pretty detailed. There's copper and bronze weapons, huh? I haven't gotten attacked or anything. That's positive, right? I have a feeling that it wouldn't be in the game yet, because this is a pretty new to early access. Again, I really haven't checked out the roadmap. It's pretty flawless so far. Maybe a little bit more information in some of the tooltips, but I figured it out. There's no like real foreign concepts or anything. Are we staying ahead of the brick need with the mud pit? Yeah, it's an infinite mud pit. Finite immigrants, infinite mud. So only a few people working there down in the mud pit. It's a rough job digging mud, but at the end of the day, you can have a muddy beer, maybe some porridge. All right, so housing quality, water access jobs, and housing quality is determined by the wall at this point. And beautification. State workers 104, state donkeys 8. All named after members of the Yogscast. It's all Simon 1, Simon 2, Simon 3, Simon 4, Simon 5, Simon 6, etc. etc. We have 2 whole gates now. The resource demand for this is super high, but I didn't want to make a mud one. I did read like 2 forum messages about this. And one was that you can't upgrade mud to brick. So if you build a mud wall and you want to upgrade to the next level, you just gotta tear it down and build a new goddamn wall. And I didn't want to do that. I did not want to do that. Oh yeah, that's tonight. Soliciting. I get an interesting amount of like faux commercial follows and responses on Twitter. Yeah, you can build a mud wall. I mean, just pile up your poop. Let's see some mud wall. I mean, I didn't build it. I wanted bricks. I mean, if it doesn't rain a lot, what's the problem with a mud wall, right? If it rains a lot, though, maybe it's a problem. But this part of the world, it doesn't rain a lot, right? It's really just, it rains upstream and it comes down this way. Here in Dongonia, Dongland, man, I really want this island to, like, have a temple on it or something, right? But it looked to me like the only bridge available was the canal bridge. And so it doesn't seem like it stretches or anything either. And then I haven't actually built any canals, have I? Not connected. Not connected to what? To water? Does it need to start in the water and extend into the town? Oh, it does. Interesting. But boss, I wonder if it actually goes underneath the wall like that. And the purpose of this is what? To make it more fertile? Because it's pretty close to a river. It's probably fertile enough. And like, you got to water it. You get down to the river, take Jimmy with you, and start bucketing. That's what I say. Though maybe there should be like a gate down here for gathering water. It should be like a water gate, like a hotel near like one of the houses. We'll paint the house a specific color too, and we'll go gather water there, and we'll build a hole in the wall nearby, so people can get water to irrigate. Call it the water gate. So this is like the high month, right? Yeah. 1427 is our high, I think, for the year. Because that's the end of the harvest, more or less. Maybe the month before is the high. Looks like you're along the curve of the Nike River. I think you probably mean Nile, but I'm in a. There's a world map you select from, and there wasn't really any geographical information in it, but you could select like a river delta. There's actually some cool places. Can I save this? Here, we'll go back to that in a second, but I'll show you this. I don't think you saw it. So you have these 3 starting positions, and then you can take 4. There are four blocks in each one. So you could like theoretically take this and this, and I think we're here. But there are these other options too. I don't know why this is so much easier. Just the amount of arable land, maybe. I don't know. None of them look particularly hard. Now to find out if loads work. Yeah? No? Okay, there we go. Yeah, okay. It works. All right. This just... Oh, yeah. It went up and then back down again. Jets. Water access concerns and housing quality concerns, apparently. No more immigrants. Only 2 available jobs, though, so maybe some of these kids are growing up. I mean, it's Sumeria, so realistically, how much education do they need? Anyways, I was talking about solicitations on Twitter. I get, like, random solicitations from people. Like I just got one today for a graphic designer. The person's sample work is... let's be nice. Let's say not my style. Tyler Williams. Influencer, entrepreneur, graphic designer, photographer, living life to the fullest. Okay, good for you, Tyler. Boy, I fucking hate resume style Twitter and like LinkedIn style Twitter. You know what I'm talking about? Where people are like, I'm going to use the Twitter description to describe my marketability or what skills I'm trying to sell. My Twitter is for networking. I don't know. I don't really want to use Twitter at all, but I do use Twitter to announce that I'm streaming. And now that I'm on Twitter, I use it to participate in fan culture for the Chicago Fire Football Club, and that's really about it. There's a couple people I follow on Twitter who are like media people. JJ Bull, the soccer writer who works for the Telegraph in England, but I follow him because he used to be in a YouTube thing called Fitba Thappa, where he just makes silly fucking animations and jokes and songs about soccer. I mean, he happens to also now be a professional sports writer, so good for him, because that actually feels like quite an accomplishment to me. But and I think he's genuinely a funny guy. And then I would like watch transfer rumors and shit for my team. That's all I'm using Twitter for, and Jesus, it's too much, frankly. It's too much. I don't follow most people I'm a fan of on Twitter because their Twitters are just spam of whatever they release that day, and I'm reading it anyways. I'm watching it anyways. His Majesty King Horse is ranting, but I'm not sure what you're ranting about. I'm just kind of flipping around between topics, so I'm not sure what that statement's about. I think they're smarter than people with stable work who pay for their welfare. Are we complaining about poor people? I don't know. People with stable work are great. If you can get it, stable work's great. A lot of people can't handle it or can't get it. I can't get it at a rate which is a good trade-off for them. I don't know. I'm pretty sympathetic to people who are trying to function and can't for whatever reason. Because I understand those people, I think. I mean, I worked pretty solidly for the last 20 years, though I'm not working now. But after not having worked for about a year, it's like, fuck, man. 40 hours a week it's soul breaking. Like, I don't know how people do it. Let's put that road there. Let's decorate this. Let's do it. A slightly larger one. Rotate. There you go. Put this here. And then one there. Nobody's taking up this. This seems like to me like this is prime real estate, right? Like, because it's like right by the main building, the main warehouse building. You'd think you'd be like, oh, that's where I want my market stall. Right by the government. Oh, there's statues. Oh my God. Bull's head. Column. Anzu column. Oh my God. There's colonnades. Oh my God. Look at that shit. This surprises me that these are in there, given that this is early access. Those are decorative, purposeless items. Ooh. Lion statue. Dragon statue. Bullman statue. Oh, man. Am I into that? The graphic designers. I mean, I think if you're good enough and people want your services, good for you. And I mean, you got to solicit work if you're in a contractual basis. As far as like finding graphic design jobs or finding other jobs, because shit, I mean, yeah, there's work. I know. Where I am right now, the labor is so short that McDonald's is offering $500 signing bonuses and tuition reimbursement. Like tuition reimbursement at a fast food job. I don't know how much it is for what it's worth, but they have to limit the hours they're open because there's so few workers for them. And the whole food industry is that way where I live, like restaurants and stuff like that, and fast food places. And they're building an Amazon center here, which is going to be like 500 to... Oh, shit. Oh, fuck, we crashed and I wasn't paying any attention. 900 grain is restored. Where did all our grain go? What the fuck? How did we run out of grain? Oh my God. All right, well, here, let's build a massive grain field. and then another farm building. This is what happens. Our leaders start talking about other bullshit, and the whole economy collapses. I was watching every year, and the numbers seemed fine. Then I stopped watching, and the numbers were no longer fine. Oh, I took my eyes off the wheel. Oh, look at these like abandoned houses. People are like, fuck it, I'm leaving. Can't pay my beer bill. Very few people, in my opinion, His Majesty King Horse, prefer welfare to work. Very few people. One, because the welfare systems in our country are really bad. Two, because the social stigma associated with collecting welfare. And I say this having lived in, major cities and having been in different environments with different types of people. I don't think there's a lot of people who don't want to earn a living. I do, however, believe that society's reward system is so broken, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I also think that there's a lot of jobs that really suck, and people not wanting to work them is not like some sort of insult. Where did all the grain go? We had we were ending, our lowest month was 500. Yeah, so I sincerely don't believe that there's that many people who just want to draw from society. But that says, I think there's plenty of room for people to just draw from society. I think there's plenty of people who do more than enough work for everyone else, or for other people to not have to work. And I don't actually consider that some sort of negative either. It's not realistic to believe that that people that everyone needs to work now. It's the 21st century, and there's a surplus of food, and there's a surplus of leisure, and to me that means that there should be there should be room for people not to have to slave away their entire lives and still live a comfortable, happy life. I feel like there's plenty of space for that. 902, 1,000, 12,000, 1,300, 1,400, 1,500, 1,600, 1,700, 1,800, 1,900, 2,000. Looks like 2,000 was our peak. I don't think there's an inherent value to labor either. An inherent social or cultural value. I don't think that people need to I don't think that people need to contribute that way. No, I love making 1,600 every 2 weeks and having 600 stolen on top of every minuscule tax around. Paying taxes isn't theft. It's the cost of living in a society. I don't think that's theft at all. I got about 20 more minutes for what it's worth. Yeah, I don't think we're on the same page there at all. I think that I was always happy to pay taxes and pay for things like public transit and infrastructure. It's not like it's depriving me of anything. There's a certain point where you reach going past poverty and into the middle class, and it's just well, I don't need more. Well, that was where I was getting professionally. I wasn't making that much money, enough though, and I was putting money away, and I was had extra money, spending on important things, healthcare, stuff like that, but saving as well. And it's just not, I feel like it's not particularly difficult to get there, but I also feel like, I'm willing to help carry other people along too. because I think that's like a fundamentally human requirement. Society better serve me better than rob me. Where is my social justice then? Well, I mean, I think that, society should serve the people who contributed to it. Absolutely. But I think it does. Man, so we had like a massive bounce on pop as well. But here we are at 2,300. I mean, it's a little weird now in the age of Rona, but roads, security, safety, entertainment, luxury, access to clean water and medical care, and access to education and all that sort of thing. I mean, I think maybe some priorities are misplaced, but I don't know that they're misplaced in the area of helping people. Like I would rather pay everyone money out of taxes than I would buy tanks and planes. There's just no question about it for me. Like, and those tanks and planes, under the guise of saying that those tanks and planes actually provide that way of life, because I don't think they actually do. 95% of government tax incomes comes from the top 1%. Yeah, it's close to that. It's definitely close to that. I don't see the problem with that, because something like 50% of value in the stock market is owned by the top 1%. And the top 1% themselves have so much more money that it's just not fucking conceivable how much more it is. You look at like the top 1% of people, which is, $500,000 and above a year in salary, and I'm not worried at all about their tax rate. But I mean, you're not that person. You're not in that top 1%. You're not even close. Not if you're making what you said you were making there, $1,600 every 2 weeks. You're not even close. In fact, in all likelihood, you'll never be close, because that's what you're making now. That's another thing I find quite common, right? The misplaced, bracketing. Tax them. That is historically what happened. When poor people were taxed, they were uprising. Yeah, that's right. I mean, when the burden falls unfairly on the poor, they tend to respond in negative ways. But I mean, the 1% isn't overtaxed by any standard economic sense. And I mean, the difference, right? When you tax the 1%, they don't actually have uprisings. They find ways to hide their money. That's what happens, right? When you tax the poor, they burn down buildings and throw rocks. When you tax the rich, they find ways to hide the money and make it look like they're not as rich. But like in general, I think tax burden is pretty unequally distributed, even because tax revenue is so strongly in the rich. That's not even close to enough. If you ask me, it's 99.9999999% of the tax burden should come from the top 1%. And you should probably have a middle class threshold. Right now, the amount of money that you pay zero taxes in the United States is like $800. After $800, the amount of money where you get basically no tax credit, and you more or less, you're only paying Social Security and welfare, is about 30,000, something in there. But I'd make it 60 per person, easy, because there's absolutely no reason to tax people we consider middle income, because it does hurt them. but it doesn't hurt people who make billions a year to get taxed large. That doesn't hurt them at all. It doesn't hurt their quality of life, and it doesn't hurt their desire to earn more, because those people are outliers. It's not like a social harm either. Like, it doesn't undo anything. I mean, if anything, we need to inculcate a sense of like responsibility amongst the wealthy towards the poor, and I don't think that's there largely. I think there's a couple outspoken individuals who consider themselves like, you know, responsible for people poorer than them, but not most. We went to 743 and the number turned red. Why did the number turn red? That's foreboding, isn't it? 581, the number's red. I guess that maybe it's the downward trend. This is a harvest month now, so okay, we're now the number's going up. Now it's black. 13, 14, 1400, 15, 17, 18. The cyclical nature of the food production makes this a bit tricky, but it's obviously more realistic than some sort of like flow or something. 25, 24, 25, 2500 at the end of the harvest. We were at 2500, 26 now. Maybe that's the private food going in. Nobody jobless, 2 available jobs. Walls are still slowly being built. In this time, I believe small towns were independent city-states run by the priest class. I think you're right. That's my understanding as well. I won't claim to be an expert in the Chalcolithic or the early Bronze Age, but I think that I think there was a kind of priestly class that were like the organizational and leadership class. There was a military class, like kings and warriors, but that was actually quite small. And then there was the large worker class below that, and that worker class was potters, crop growers, cloth dyers, not much else. There's probably a few odds and ends, a few artisans, like but those artisans aren't like, you know, painters. They're healers and bone setters and stuff like that. Yeah, I've been so interested in stuff like Sumerian history that I've also read, you know, Median history and Akkadian history and Persian history and stuff like that. So I get it all kind of muddled up in my mind. Worker class means 6 days a week, 12 hours a day. No, that's not true, right? This is pre-market capitalism. These people would work really, really hard to plant all the grain they could, and then not really do much for a couple months. And then they'd come back and harvest all the grain they could, and they'd work really, really hard, and then not really do much for a couple months, and repeat. If you look at like the holiday calendars of ancient civilizations, they were very intermittent. Periods of intense labor, and then periods of just like nothing. And this is how you get the great works of the ancient world, like the pyramids, right? The pyramids were built by free laborers who basically during the off season, they'd farm when the Nile was appropriately flooded and rich, and then they have nothing to do for a significant amount of time of the year. So the government would pay them in beer and put them to work building the pyramids. Because otherwise they were in an unemployed rabble and they were a danger to themselves and others. But like the origin of like the priestly class is largely in like controlling the ebb and flow of labor in river-based civilizations. That's my understanding of it. Maybe an expert could give a real answer. So all of society is based today. Modern day society is derived from the fact that there are times a year when your field is just too wet for you to do anything. So you're like, I'm gonna need some beer. Yeah, low alcohol beer, like King Horse says, low alcohol beer was a necessity because the water was dirty and full of microorganisms that would make you sick. But low alcohol beer, basically safe to drink. And you could drink that low alcohol beer at the age of 2 when you went from your mother's milk directly to low alcohol beer. Because if you drank the water, things didn't go well for you. It's interesting too, right? Because like we know enough now that you could have boiled all that water and then fine. Go back in time with the knowledge of germ theory, and alcohol might never develop. Table beer, right? You can get table beer now. There's a brewery. I was just looking up here. The beer scene's real robust. But back in Chicago, it wasn't really a thing. There were some breweries, but now there are a lot of micro and nano breweries are springing up. And there's one right down the street from my old apartment that I know, had I been in Chicago, I would be stopping at on the reg because it was to and from my job. And they have table beer there, which is like 2% beer. It's the sort of beer you drink all day, every day. Maintaining a low level buzz and staying sober while you drive, of course. Like, you know, I always, the idea of like constantly having a relatively low percentage of alcohol in your system, like 24/7, is interesting, right? Like, I feel like you'd be hungover a lot. Like I would be hungover a lot. I'm not sure though. I haven't really drunk 2% beer all day, every day. That's an experiment. That's a social. I should go. You know how there's that Super Size Me documentary? I should super drink me, but only drink the low alcohol stuff, just to, you know, historically represent it. And then I'll only wear things made out of flax linen, and then I'll only drink low alcohol beer and eat porridge for a month, and I'll make a movie. I'll die of fucking scurvy. What did the Sumerians do about scurvy? Where did they get their vitamins? I suppose there was probably some local fruit that they would have had access to. I think a lot of them would have just had scurvy. Though there's obviously some good vitamins in meat. And some in fish as well. So they probably could have gotten some fish and a little bit of access to meat. You know, when the old donkey is too old. An old Simon 20 the donkey. Old Simon 25 the donkey is so old that you gotta eat him. Maybe then you get some vitamin in, you know. There must have been alternate food, because grain just isn't enough, right? Less genetically strong people would just die at a young age is what would happen. That's a cruel world. Thank God for taxes. Yeah, you know, I mean, man, one of the great luxuries of modern living, right, is food variety. We take it for granted too, because it's only really the 1950s on forward in non-urban areas in the United States. In cities, maybe a little bit longer, but I didn't go shopping yesterday because I'm supposed to stay away from crowds for the next week. But my wife brought home apples, potatoes, half a dozen frozen vegetables, various grain products, some from near, some from far, bunch of other shit too. It's just like the variety of that is just insane. I mean, the fact that it's December and we're getting ripe apples. Fuji apples from, I think they're actually from Mississippi, of all places. Where they probably were harvested a month or two ago, but they look good to me. I mean, just that kind of food variety is amazing. Like, I would imagine the Sumerians were eating the same thing, same 3 or 4 things. Beer, grains that had been soaked and cooked, but they were whole grains, so like a porridge, and fish. Probably not much else. Later on, maybe some olives, but olives are really Mediterranean, not Fertile Crescent. So maybe some dates? But even so, not enough dates that you're like, oh yeah, at least I have dates today. It's that construction worker scene where everybody sits down and opens their lunchbox and it's like, what do you got? Oh, I get tuna fish, you know. But everybody opens their lunchbox and says, what do you got? I have porridge and beer. What do you got? Porridge and beer. What do you got? A fish head. We don't have any porridge at my house because Jimmy's dead. He fell down a well, and there's no. We're missing the extra labor, and also my mother-in-law lives with us now, and she only has one leg, and she doesn't do shit. We're thinking about eating her, but we haven't decided yet. Where are we at on housing? Looks to me like every housing spot is full. So let's see that there. We decided we're going to build any additional farming outside the wall on this side. So that means we can take back this neighborhood too. There? One there too. I mean, I kind of feel like we should take all this farm stuff, put it like all outside the wall, and then move all the fields out there. But I think that's more work than I'm ever gonna do. So are we still getting that no immigrants message? Yeah, no more immigrants. Population totally crashed at one point, but did we even do that much more? I mean, we added a whole nother big field, but let's look at the like historical graph for this. It's here. Here. By years. Okay, so man, you don't even really see the crash. Is this it? Can't. There's no scale here, though. Each bar is just 1 year, right? Yeah. And I can't go back to year 1, huh? I can't expand the graph further. Grain, flax. Now we're getting flax now. We're not doing anything with it though, because we have yet to build the fabrics workshop because we're spending all the bricks. So many bricks. All the bricks there are. Still plenty of mud though. We got 10 available jobs. So walls take forever. Maybe I should have just built mud walls so I could see the settlement upgrade a little bit. I think this is a good game. It's real slow, but I think it's pretty good, especially for what is a really early access. It's like 0.1 or something like that. Okay, I gotta get going. Thank you very much for joining me, King Horse. Thanks anybody else who came by today. Some people came by. Check out Sumerians on Steam. It's like $15. No. Bring up the goddamn library when I click that goddamn button. Sumerians on Steam here. It's like it's $15 early access. Just came out last week. Reviews are positive. I haven't noticed any bugs. It didn't crash. What's here is working. It doesn't have walkers. It has radius-based city building. So far, I like it quite a bit. It's definitely very chill. It's definitely something that maybe you want to, turn on your favorite historical documentary show about the Sumerians and play and watch and relax that way. Because I don't think it's going to take all your attention ever, but it is good. And then also, oh, look at this! Look at this! Oh, that was fucking awesome. That's interesting. I didn't do my markets in a block like that. I should have considered that. In this video, they were in multiple little islands somewhere. Where is it? How do they get from space to space? Oh, go back. Okay, I can see the canals there and all those little fields separated. I'm not sure why you would do that. Canals, that's cool. Ziggurats. I never built a ziggurat. This is fucking awesome. Look how awesome this looks. How do they get from here to there? Do they get in little boats? Because that would be cool. They just teleport. I want to see them in little boats. But there's no boats in this picture, so boats may or may not be included. Yeah, Sumerians, check it out on Steam. And then jinglejam.tiltify.com. Check it out for a great bundle with lots of cool games like jinglejam.tiltify.com. Like Colony Survival, Dicey Dungeons, Prison Architect. This is DLC. Starbound, Rise of Industry, which is an awesome game. Some other games that I would never play, but maybe other people like Sunless Sea, Farming Sim 17, Shoppy Keepy, Don't Starve, and Don't Starve Reign of Giants are on here. That's awesome. That right there is worth $35 US. Pax Nora, which is a really weird fucking game. Fishing Adventure. It's a great bundle. You should check it out. I will probably be back on Wednesday for about 3 hours or so. And then I will almost definitely be gone for 2 weeks. Perhaps more. We'll see how it goes. Because I have some medical stuff to attend to. So Wednesday I'll be back. That's the 8th? The 9th. And then don't expect me back until like after Christmas. I'll try to get back. If I feel good enough, I'll be back before then. But I expect my medical stuff will take at least 5 days. Thanks so much for joining. Have a good one.